UFC Fight Night, Dern versus Ribas 2, the rematch in the main event. We're going to do the full card prediction for every single fight of the first UFC Fight Night of 2025. We got some really good fights. I am hyped about Chris Curtis, Roman Kopylov. I like Austin Bashi as a prospect. I just don't know if that's going to be a good fight with Christian Rodriguez, so I'm hesitant to say it's going to be a solid fight when it could stylistically be very boring. What other fight am I hyped about? Any Ihor Potieria fight's going to be a banger, so I guess I'll be hyped about that one. Let's see. A lot of other wrestlers and grapplers on the card, so not a lot of fights I'm necessarily hyped about. But like I was saying earlier, I am hyped about the prospects. Nurullo, Aliev, Fatima, Kline, Austin Bashi. Do I think a lot of these fights are going to be really good fights? No, I do not. Do I think this is going to top the list as the best UFC fight night of 2025? No, I do not. It's going to be like the 40th best fight night. I don't even think there's 40 cards in 2025. I don't think this is going to be a great card, but there's some good names to watch and one very solid fight to watch as well. But let's get into the first fight of the night. The prospect right here, Nurullo Aliev and Yanal Ashmouz. Yanal versus Nurullo Aliev. I like this fight. They're both under 30 years old, so even if we get an upset of Yanal Ashmouz knocking out Nurullo Aliev, I mean, we still got a good prospect in Yanal there, who's only lost once and would be 3-1 in the UFC. He upset our boy Trevor Peek by unanimous decision, beat Sam Patterson, who's now a welterweight, by knockout. Now Patterson's undefeated up a weight class. Yanal has a lot of power in his hands. He's got good wrestling like we saw in the Trevor Peek fight. Do I think he's anywhere near as good of wrestling as the Tajik Eagle Nurullo Aliev? No. I mean, come on. No. Obviously, Nurullo is going to be highly superior when it comes to wrestling, when it comes to the combat, sambo, jiu-jitsu even. But here's where it ends, is Nurullo's a decision machine. Decision, corner stoppage. It wasn't even really a finish because it was once the round ended. He went back to his corner. Then the fight got stopped. Decision, ground and pound TKO, and a decision. I don't think the dude has really any power on the feet. And he's getting the TKO by putting them in a position and just pounding. So he's got to get them into that specific position to actually get the finish. I don't think he's going to submit Yanal. I don't think he's going to be able to ground and pound TKO Yanal, put his head against the cage, get him in a position where he can't move, and ground and pound for the win. I think the fight goes all the way. I don't think Yanal is going to win this fight if it goes through the scorecards. He needs to go out there trying to defend his takedowns as best as possible and really trying to crack the chin of Nurullo. The best way he wins is cracking Nurullo and knocking him out early on in this fight. Or later when they're sweaty and it's easier to defend the takedowns, then maybe he lands those big shots. But I think Nurullo's going to stay at range, use his height, use his reach, and when he does come in, he's going to come in fast, going to get the takedowns. I don't think he's going to dominate this fight, but I got Nurullo 29-28. I think you'll have one moment in this fight where Yanal gets close to a finish, where he rocks Nurullo, gives him a little bit of, shall I say, adversity in this fight, but I think Nurullo wins it 29-28 on the judges' scorecards. Victoria Dudakova and Fatima Kline in the women's strawweight division. They're both coming off their first ever loss as a mixed martial artist. 6-1 now and 8-1 for both girls, again, who were undefeated prior to those matchups. Of course, Fatima took on the way better opponent, a ranked women's flyweight, on short notice, where Dudakova took on a Sam Hughes, who has a record of, I think, 9-6 now, and maybe like 10-6. Let's check. Yeah, 9-6. Who is, has a losing record inside the UFC. That's who she lost to. And the girl that Fatima lost to, again, short notice, up a weight class, Jazz the division. So there's differences there for sure. Kline is somehow the underdog on the Tapology picks. Don't ask me how that's the case when the betting odds have Fatima as an 8-1 favorite. I don't understand. I trust me, I do not understand. If Victoria is going to win any round though here, I do believe it will be round number 1. Later on as the fight goes, Fatima will start to prevail. Use her strength, use everything. I don't think Victoria will win round number 1, But if she does win a round, I think it'll be then. But I think Fatima will win every single round here. I don't like what I saw in the last fight for Victoria Dudakova. Her striking really wasn't that good. I could actually see a path to victory for Fatima just outstriking Victoria for 3 rounds here, let alone her better grappling, her better wrestling, her better cardio, and her just kind of stronger physique and things like that. I think Fatima is better everywhere you look at this fight. How do I see Victoria winning, to be honest? I don't know. Fluke injury, Fatima breaking her foot, and an injury, dislocated elbow like the Estela Nunes fight. Other than that, I don't really see too many paths to victory here for Victoria Dudakova. Does that mean you should bet minus 800 on Fatima? No, come on, guys. You know better than the parlay, a minus 800 favorite in women's MMA. Ladies and gentlemen, Gambling 101 tells you, do not parlay the women. Just don't do it. But yeah, I got Fatima Kline winning this fight 30-27. I think she wins every round fairly easily in the women's strawweight division. Magomed Gadzhiyasulov, the hardest name to type out on my computer without looking, versus Bruno Lopes in the light heavyweight division. It's a solid fight. Do I think it's going to be like a banger fight? No, but it's a solid prospect versus Bruno Lopes, who's coming off 2 finishes on the Contender Series and in the LFA. Lost to Preston Ribeiro in a fight he was heavily favored to win. He got cracked with a big straight right and hammer fisted there. Other than that loss, he hasn't lost. This is only lost as a professional mixed martial artist, and it's a fight he got caught in. There's no fight. I've looked throughout his record. 13-1. Again, he's finishing basically everyone. Does he have any decisions? He got 2, and I believe those are fights right here. Jose Diaz, and then one of these that doesn't really show on his record, that are going all the way. Other than that, he's finishing everybody, whether it's on the feet or whether it's on the ground. He's got good wrestling, he's got good jiu-jitsu, it's shown, to take down his other opponents and submit them and even outstrike a lot of his opponents. But again, this is a wrestler, this is a grappler in Magomed Gadzhiyasulov. I think, of course, you look at the name, you look at the last name, you look at the undefeated record, you look at where he's from, Dagestan, Russia. You know what he's going to try to do. He's going to use his sambo and his wrestling to get this fight to the floor, like he did with Preston Ribeiro. I'm going to be straight up with y'all. I'm going the underdog. I am going the underdog. Bruno Lopes to upset here. I think he has higher potential to finish the fight. That's one. I don't think Magomed's going to go out there and finish Bruno with ground and pounder with a submission on the ground. He just hasn't shown it against high-level competition. Preston Ribeiro, and who's the other guy? Jose Medina wasn't able to finish. He's not going to finish Bruno on the ground. Bruno could very well finish Magomed on the feet. So finish potential goes Bruno. Power goes Bruno. Striking goes Bruno. Again, the only way Magomed wins is if he's able to get those takedowns and just easily control it on the ground. I don't think it's going to be that easy. I don't think Magomed's going to dominate there, and I think Bruno's going to defend a lot of the takedowns here against Magomed Gadzhiyasulov. I expect it to be a little bit of grappling, a little bit of takedowns here and there from Magomed, but a lot of outstriking from Bruno Lopes, who I think is going to win this fight. Very close. Am I confident on Bruno? No, I'm not. I think this fight is a pick'em, and I barely lean Bruno Lopes as almost a 2-1 dog. I want to look it up just to make sure, because I think this could be one of the bigger underdogs on this card for me. I want to make positive sure where these odds are at this current moment. Let's see. Am I completely blind? Yeah, minus 225 is the biggest you're going to get Magomed Gadzhiyasulov. Plus 187, so a 2-1 underdog. And I'm predicting him to win by a close 29-28 decision. Maybe even a split decision. You never know with the UFC. Nicolle Caliari taking on Ernesta Kareckaite. Again, I don't really know how to say that name because it's Kareckaite. It's a C and a K back-to-back. I don't know. Tell me in the comments if I'm saying that one wrong. They're both young, 26 and 28 years old. Ernesta is so much taller, so much lengthier. The better striker, of course. Nicolle Caliari is very good on the ground. She's got good jiu-jitsu. She's from Brazil. Is a finisher for sure. Only one loss by a decision and no wins by a decision. She's coming off 3 submissions in a row. Armbar, rear naked in an armbar. All I got to say here is, what do you got to do, Ernesta? What do you got to do? Don't go to the ground. Just don't go to the ground. Don't do it. Don't go to the ground. Again, all the Tapology predictions going Caliari to win. A lot of them saying submission. Don't go to the ground, Ernesta. I don't think she's going to get taken down dominantly by Nicolle Caliari. I think this fight will stay on the feet for the most part. I think there will be a scare. There will definitely be a scare for Nicolle going for an armbar, going for a submission on the bottom, a guillotine, triangle, whatever the case may be. There's going to be a scare at some point in this fight. Women's MMA, she's just going to throw up a lot of submission. One of them, I believe, is going to be close. Other than that, I think Ernesta is just going to keep it on the feet, defend all the other takedowns, use her height, use her reach, use her range, and outstrike Nicolle on the feet here. Yeah, she's younger, taller, lengthier, better striker. Just got to keep it on the feet. Don't go to the ground. I got her winning this fight by a unanimous decision. Andreas Gustafsson, not to be mistaken for anybody related to Alexander Gustafsson. He's made it very, very clear. He's not related to Alexander Gustafsson. I had to say that. I had to get that out of the way. He's taking on Preston Parsons. UFC Fight Night Dern versus Ribas 2. I gotta definitely mention, though, he is almost 34 years old, making his UFC debut, which is really interesting that the UFC would sign him, but he did look so impressive on the Contender Series, just dominating Pat Pitlick, who was a good, solid Canadian prospect there. He's able to get him in the clinch and dominate him there. Striking didn't look horrible. He's a finisher through and through, beating guys in the clinch, wearing on them and just punching a knee and an elbow in the crap out of every single one of his opponents. He did lose a close decision at Joelton Luderbach. That was his last loss. But other than that, man, he's knocking out basically everyone. I'm looking at his whole record. 8 knockout wins. He's got a crazy finishing potential in this fight. And this is a tough one. This is a very, very tough one for him, especially as a debut, fighting Preston Parsons, who, yes, his record might not look great. 2 wins and 3 losses right there. But the record could easily be 3-2 for him to have a winning record if he was able to get that Trevin Giles win. The other 2 losses, a former ranked welterweight, then Oban Elliott, who's a big prospect in the welterweight division right now. So, again, he's losing a really good guys, and he's beating some good guys as well. Evan Elder, who was undefeated, Matthew Semmelsberger, and arguably could have beat Trevin Giles in that one. So it's a tough debut for sure for Andreas Gustafsson. Parsons, I don't believe, has amazing striking. Gustafsson, I would say, has slightly better striking here. Wrestling, jiu-jitsu, ground game, pretty even. Clinch, obviously going to be going Andreas Gustafsson. So I expect this fight to stay on the feet, but do I expect them to stay at range with each other, striking the entire fight? No. Gustafsson has shown to be really good in the clinch situations. I think at range, they'll be very even. And I think Gustafsson's going to barely win all of the rounds, just kind of, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. He's going to use the clinch situations to give him the rounds. I think it's going to be even up to those points. They're going to be striking at range. Parsons is going to get inside, land his punches. Gustafsson's going to be on the outside, landing his punches and kicks. And then I think it's going to be like, who's going to win this round? Who's going to win this round? Boom. Andreas is able to get inside, get to the clinch, land knees, land elbows, and make it a little bit of a dirty boxing situation. And that's where Andreas does thrive. Preston, he's going to go for takedowns. We know it. He's going to go for takedowns here. I don't think he's going to get any. And when he does go for those takedowns, it's going to get right into the clinch of Andreas, who's going to land damage as Parsons is going to be trying to go for those takedowns. So I think this fight, style-wise, isn't very good for Parsons. It just isn't, because striking is very even. So you could take the risk by just striking for 3 rounds, knowing that eventually Gustafsson's going to get clinched and he's going to beat you in the clinch. Or you could try to wrestle him where if you miss those takedowns, you're going to be in the clinch with him and he's going to be landing damage on you. So I don't see a clear path to victory for Preston. And I see a lot of paths for Andreas Gustafsson. I don't think he finishes Preston, though. Preston is shown to only be knocked out on short notice against Daniel Rodriguez. That was 3.5 years ago. Since then, I don't think he's even been close to being knocked out in any of his fights. So I think this one goes all the way, and I am going to be going with Andreas Gustafsson to win this fight on the judges' scorecards. 29-28, 29-28, and 30-27. Thiago Moises taking on Trey Ogden in the UFC lightweight division. This one's interesting because Thiago's been here forever. Thiago has been in the UFC for a very, very long time, and I just kind of noticed it now, and it kind of popped into my head. He's only 29 years old. He's still in the prime of his MMA career. He's got, 13 fights as a UFC fighter, a former top 15 UFC lightweight. His losses, let me read these off for you because it's kind of crazy to think about. Beneil Dariush, his first UFC loss. Damir Ismagulov, former top 10 UFC lightweight. Beneil's a former top 5 UFC lightweight. Beat Michael Johnson, beat Bobby Green, who was ranked at one point as well. Islam Makhachev in the main event. That's a champ. That's the champ right there, guys. Joel Alvarez, ladies and gentlemen, is now in the top 15. Benoit Saint-Denis, ladies and gentlemen, is now in the top 15. And then Ludovic Kline. Everybody that beats him gets into the top 15 after, is a ranked fighter, is a champion, is a contender of the UFC lightweight division. Of course, other than Ludovic Kline, he just hasn't had his chance to prove so. Ludovic Kline won that fight because he's just the better striker. Do I think Trey Ogden is the better striker? No. And I think Thiago has the ability to defend the takedowns here against Trey Ogden, keep this one on the feet, and where this fight, actually, Thiago is going to be the better striker. And it's been the case for Thiago that if he is fighting a guy that is the better striker, he's going to be going for takedowns. If he's not, he's going to be striking with them. This is that fight where Trey Ogden is not as good of a striker, and Trey's going to be going for takedowns, and Thiago's going to be defending. He's fought way better wrestlers and grapplers and defended a lot of their takedowns. He should be able to keep it on the feet with a guy like Trey Ogden, who's not near that level of wrestling and grappling. And I think Thiago should use that to his advantage, keep it on the feet, and win it in the striking. I think he's the better striker here, and should win on the scorecards. I don't think he knocks out Trey. Has Trey been knocked out? No. He doesn't have any knockout wins, doesn't have any knockout losses. So I think this one does go all the way, and I am going to be going with my man, Thiago Moises, to win on the scorecards. Marco Tulio and Ihor Potieria in the UFC middleweight division. Of course, Ihor, one of the worst records right now in the UFC. 2 wins, and 5 losses. I totally forgot about the Mauricio Rua dance he did in Brazil for his retirement. Kind of crazy. But 2 wins, 5 losses, 1 knockout win, 1 decision win, and all losses by finish except for Cesar Almeida in his most recent fight, which was filled with controversy and low blows and eye pokes and all sorts of that type of stuff. Before he joined the UFC, he was looking like a crazy good prospect because, oh my God, the dude was finishing everybody. 9 knockout wins, 7 submission wins. Again, the only time he got submitted after that, his only submission loss was the craziness Michel Pereira one where he got rocked and then submitted in that one. Out of all the guys he's fought, though, Marco Tulio, I would say, is on the lower end of his opponents. Nicolle Negumereanu at light heavyweight, Carlos Ulberg, Rodolfo Bellato, Michel Pereira, Cesar Almeida. I would say Cesar Almeida, Marco Tulio are on a similar level, but I think Marco is a little bit better than Cesar Almeida. So if Cesar Almeida was able to win, I think Marco should be able to win here. I think Marco, although is a solid grappler, he's decent on the ground with his wrestling and grappling. He's shown in his recent fights that he's got a lot of power in his hands and with his feet. Knocked out Well Oliveira with punches. Beat Yusri Belaguri with wrestling, with grappling, clinching a lot in that fight, slowing that fight down, knowing when to kind of change the fight to kind of, fit your opponent. Yusri Belaguri was a great example of that. Then when he's fighting guys that he believes he can outstrike, he's outstriking them. So he's got good striking, but when he needs to, he can wrestle and he can grapple. I think he does have better striking overall than Ihor Potieria, but I know in the back of my mind he's got the X factor and he could wrestle and grapple if he ever needed to against Ihor Potieria. I think Marco's gonna hurt Ihor one point in this fight. Ihor might hurt Marco at one point in this fight, and I think Marco will land a takedown or 2 in this fight as well. But I think most of this fight will be spent on the feet, with Ihor throwing some crazy punches, Marco throwing some crazy kicks, a little bit of wrestling mixed in, and I do got Marco Tulio winning this fight, his UFC debut, to become 13-1. He's 2-0 in the Contender Series, and after this fight, 1-0 in the UFC. I got Marco Tulio. Do I want to say finish? I do. Let's go round 2. TKO win for Marco Tulio. Jose Johnson taking on Felipe Bunes, the tallest UFC flyweight on the roster right here in Jose Johnson. 6 feet tall, taking on the 5'7" Felipe Bunes, who, 0-1 in the UFC, fought Josh Van as his UFC debut. I'm not really remembering, but I thought it was on short notice. Did really, really good in the LFA. Lost to Jussier Formigas, a former top 10 UFC flyweight right there. But again, he took a lot of damage in his last fight, which I believe was the first fight of 2024, back in January of that year. He's not very UFC caliber. I'll be straight up with you guys. Let's look at his record. 13 wins, 7 losses, 35 years old. I don't know why he's in the UFC. Straight up, I don't know. He was supposed to fight Gadzhiyasulov in the UFC on June 17, 2023. Then he fought Josh Van right there, and then he was supposed to fight against then he was supposed to fight Dennis Bonder on that card. Josh Van stepped in. Why is he in the UFC, though, is my question. He lost 3 in a row in 2019, 2020. Did these guys right here. Won 1 fight, got submitted by Jussier Formiga, won a split decision, and then got 1 knockout win. Why is he in the UFC? I don't know. Jose Johnson, I believe, should be better on the feet. Should clearly be the better striker. He's been knocked out 1 time, but I believe that was a while ago. He's got 8 knockout wins of his own. A lot of them very, very early on into those fights. Let's look at when he's knocking out these guys. 3 minutes, 1 minute, unanimous decision wins, knockout wins in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes. He's knocking out dudes really, really fast. Very tall, very lengthy, stand on the outside. He doesn't really want to wrestle and grapple. That's how he lost his last 2 fights. The Mont Black, Shirasu. Felipe doesn't really have amazing wrestling and grappling. So, again, I don't know why he's in the UFC. I don't know why this is a fight that's happening, but I think Jose is clearly the better fighter. He's not bad on the ground. He didn't get finished by Asu Almabayev. And he's able to get up, and he's able to outstrike a lot of his opponents. And I think Josh Van was able to knock him out. Obviously, Jose's not as good as Josh Van. And it did take 2 rounds for Josh Van to knock him out. But I'm going to go Jose Johnson by knockout as well. I don't believe Felipe Bunes. I think if he survives, it's going to be a 30-26. I'll be straight up with you guys. It's either that. Another second round knockout, just like the Josh Van one. He's able to defend the takedowns, use his reach, and just easily outstrike and pick apart Felipe on the feet. Or Felipe is going to get knocked out. 30-26, domination on the feet for Jose Johnson, or a knockout win. Why is he in the UFC? He's 35, he's 0-1 in the UFC, and before that, he was on, 3-4 in his last 7 fights? Why is he in the UFC? I don't know. He's probably going to get cut after this one. Jose Johnson should win this one fairly easily, though. I got him. I'm going to go unanimous decision, but I can totally see a knockout here from Jose Johnson. Punahele Soriano taking on Uros Medic in the women's welterweight division. I do have I'm joking. Don't comment that I said women's welterweight division, because I did it on purpose. But yeah, 32 and 31 years old. Height advantage going to be going Uros. Reach, surprisingly, going Punahele Soriano, who is a former UFC middleweight, which is interesting. He made his debut in 2019. 2 knockout wins in a row. Lost to Brendan Allen, who's a top 10 guy in the middleweight division. He lost to Nick Maximov by split decision, who's not in the UFC anymore. He should still be in the UFC, if I'm being honest with myself. Knocked out Dalchalun Jambula. Lost to Kopylov, who's also on this card. Then he lost to Dustin Stoltzfus, which was kind of sad in my opinion. But then he beat Miguel Baeza down in the welterweight division. Uros Medic lost to a lightweight. Punahele's out here knocking out middleweights. There's levels here. So yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go Punahele Soriano to win this fight. Uros Medic getting out-wrestled, getting controlled and dominated by a lightweight in Mikdibek Orolbai. I know he's a very good lightweight. Jalen Turner, also another lightweight. Going out there, beating them on the ground, submitting them, and rear nakeding and neck cranking them. I think if these guys are able to take him down, especially given that it's not a crazy amount of time ago, it's like a year ago. Again, he knocked out Tim Means. So what? Tim Means is his main path to victory is actually, I was about to say submission. Never mind. Never mind. I don't know Tim Means' career as well as I thought I did, but the point remains. Uros Medic gets taken down. That's how he loses. 10-2, only 2 losses on the ground, 2 wrestlers, 2 grapplers. Jalen Turner's not even a wrestler and grappler, and he got submitted by him. Miktabek Oralbai, he got dominated by him. That's a lightweight. Punahele dominated Miguel Baeza in his last fight with the wrestling, with the grappling, with the controlling ground and pound. It was like let me pull it up. I think he landed like 10 takedowns in the fight. UFC stats. Let's pull it up because I really, really want to be sure on just how many takedowns that this man Punahele landed, because it was crazy. It was only 5. I'm a dumbass. Okay, 11 minutes of control time, 136 ground and pound punches, 5 takedowns there. So I was over-exaggerating with the amount of takedowns, but the control time was insane. And he's doing that to Miguel Baeza. I think he should be able to do it to Uros Medic. I'm going to be straight up with you guys. I think he should be able to take this fight down, control it there. His own striking really isn't horrible, so it's not like a Tim Means or it's not like a Matthew Semmelsberger or Omar Morales where I see a good path to victory for Uros to knock out Punahele Soriano. I don't see that happening. It took a lot from Roman Kopylov to knock out Punahele Soriano. Uros is not as good as Roman Kopylov. I think if he's got a shot, he's got a shot to knock him out on the feet. I just think Punahele's going to wrestle, going to grapple, keep it as even as he can on the feet, and win this fight on the ground. I'm going to go the first decision of Uros Medic's career, Punahele Soriano by unanimous decision. Austin Bashi taking on Christian Rodriguez in the UFC featherweight division. 27-23, some young bucks in this weight class, undefeated 13-0, and also 13 fights, but 2 losses there, 11-2 for Christian Rodriguez. You look at his career, he is 4-2 in the UFC. First loss was on short notice against Jonathan Pierce. Joined the UFC, again, like I'm saying, on short notice, but went on a tear after that, submitting Joshua Weems and decisioning 3 undefeated prospects in a row. Raul Rosas Jr., Cameron Simon, and Isaac Dolgarian. Every undefeated fighter he fights, he beats. And Austin Bashi, well, he's an undefeated fighter, so he should beat Austin Bashi, right? No, wrong. Wrong, ladies and gentlemen. My guy Austin Bashi has cardio for days. His pressure is on point. His takedowns are on point. Do I think he's going to dominate here? No. Do I think he's going to marab it? Yes, which is not the same as dominating. He's going to get takedowns. Rodriguez is going to get back up. He's going to get another takedown. Rodriguez is going to get back up. I don't think he's going to control and dominate Rodriguez on the ground, but I think he will take him down plenty of times throughout this fight. Ground and pound him and keep the striking even. I am going to go Austin Bashi to make this a fun one. This is going to be the fights where there's going to be probably 15 takedowns attempted from Austin Bashi here. Come back to this video afterwards. I do believe there's going to be a buttload of takedowns attempted from Austin Bashi in this fight, and I think he wins it. I think he goes 29-28. Of course, Rodriguez will win a round because he always does. And I think Austin Bashi will get the nod on the scorecards by a 30-27, 29-28, and 29-28 decision. Chris Curtis taking on Roman Kopylov in the middleweight division, 32 and 37 years old. 6 foot tall for Roman, who's taller, but the reach is kind of the same right there. I will say this right now. I am going to be predicting Roman Kopylov to win. I'll say it right now. Will I be betting on Roman Kopylov? No. No, I will not. No, I will not, ladies and gentlemen. Minus 260 for Roman to win this fight is utterly insane in my opinion. For Chris Curtis, a guy that, in my opinion, beat Brendan Allen. Went out there and got some good knockout wins, like Joaquin Buckley, who's number 6 in the welterweight division right now, knocked out Brendan Allen, beat Rodolfo Vieira, and outstruck Marc-Andre Barrial. This is a guy that's knocking out and beating some really, really good guys here. I don't think you should ever be betting Roman Kopylov on a 1-fight win streak, a split decision against Cesar Almeida. I don't think you should ever be that confident on Roman to win. as a minus 260. You should not be betting this. Will I be picking Roman to win? Yes, but it's way closer than the odds might have it. I think it's going to be 3 rounds of striking. Would I be shocked if Chris Curtis goes out there with a wrestling game plan? A little bit, but not entirely. I think it'd be a smart game plan to mix in clinching and wrestling, a little bit of grappling and things like that. But overall, the striking is just clear. Clear advantage for Roman, especially with the kicks. The boxing is great from both men. But Roman is just the far superior striker. His power is a little bit better than Chris Curtis. His kicks, I believe, are a little bit better than Chris Curtis as well. And I just think he's a much better striker than Chris Curtis. Chris will have his moments. Maybe he rocks Roman Kopylov because, again, Chris does have power of his own. But he needs to rock him and then try to mix in some wrestling, because if he rocks them and he continues to strike, he's going to get rocked, because Roman can crack as well. Chris' main path to victory here is to have some good moments and rock Roman at some point in this fight, and to have some newfound really good wrestling and grappling, because I don't expect this one, if it's going to be 3 rounds of striking, which I think it will be, I don't think Chris comes out as the winner here. He needs to find a way to get some wrestling, get some clinch, slow the fight down, mitigate the pace that Roman's able to put on, the volume that Roman's able to put on, and slow it down. Slow it down a little bit. So if Chris wins, he's got to make it a little boring. Got to make it a little bit boring. And if Roman wins, it's going to be a banger. It is going to be a banger. I'm going to go Roman Kopylov to win. I think it's going to be a banger. I think it's going to be a striking match. I don't think Chris is going to go for the takedowns. I think he should. I think that's the path to victory, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be a striking match, and I think Roman will win 29-28 in a back-and-forth fight of the night war in the UFC middleweight division, in a fight I fully wish was 5 rounds. I wish this was 5 rounds. It should be the co-main event. Let's be honest here. It should be the co-main event. It's a banger. I can't wait for it. I got Roman Kopylov by unanimous decision. Abdul Razak Al Hassan taking on Cesar Almeida. This is my biggest underdog pick of the entire card. Abdul Razak Al Hassan. First off, Roman Kopylov was able to land takedowns on Cesar Almeida. Alright? Roman Kopylov, the striker, the kickboxer, the Muay Thai machine, the knockout artist. Roman Kopylov, the dude's destroying people on the feet. And he's forced to wrestle and grapple, and he's successful at it, landing easy double legs on Cesar Almeida to win the fight. Then we got Abdul Razak Al Hassan, who's got power on the feet. He's got finishing ability, 12 knockout wins, 0 submissions, 0 decisions. He's a finisher. He beats everybody by knockout. And sometimes he loses by knockout as well. But he doesn't have bad wrestling. We look at his record. The only fight he was really offensively wrestling was the Joaquin Buckley fight. And it was a split decision loss. If we pull up that fight, this is, again, I've only pulled up UFC stats one other time on this full card prediction. This is going to be one I have to do. Abdul Razak Al Hassan has a judo background. He's a good wrestler, a good grappler. He was able to control Buckley for 3 minutes, take him down 3 times. And Buckley is far superior in wrestling and grappling than Cesar Almeida. He was able to land 19-1 on ground and pound. That was the main reason this fight was as close as it was. Clearly dominated Buckley in round 3. In round 1 was the deciding round, and it was a really close round that, Buckley was barely able to win. Because Buckley was landing takedowns early on in the fight because of his explosibility. But the fact that Razak is able to win and win rounds on Joaquin Buckley with his own wrestling, taking him down, he's got the judo background. He's got a great judo background. That's literally his nickname, the Judo Thunder. Not a lot of people talk about it because dude's knocking out everybody. But in this fight, you got to think the game plan should be Cesar Almeida. Who is Cesar Almeida? What is his background? Dude's a kickboxer. He's got 4 knockout wins on his record. And he fought Alex Pereira and beat Alex Pereira in kickboxing. He's fought him 3 times. Didn't get knocked out by him once. Is this a guy you want to strike with for 3 rounds? No. So if Abdul is smart, this should be a very good underdog pick here. It should be an amazing underdog pick. If he is smart and wrestles and grapples, he should win. He should win if he does so. Able to take down Buckley 3 times and control him there, ground and pound him. Should do that to Cesar Almeida, who's got like 4 years of experience in MMA. Come on. That's my prediction. I'm going to go Abdulrazak Alhassan, ground and pound TKO in round number 2, round number 3. Again, is he going to be smart? Is he not? We shall see. We shall see. Abdul by finish. Santiago Ponzinibbio taking on Carlston Harris in the UFC welterweight division. Both old guys, 38 and 37 years old. Coming off losses, Santiago got knocked out by Kevin Holland, and he lost to Muslim Salikov in a close one, lost to Michel Pereira in a close one, lost to Jeff Neal in a close one. This dude's losing to everybody by split decision, it seems. In the middle of that one, got an Alex Morono overhand right knockout win. Carlston Harris, on the other hand, lost to Shavkat Rakhmonov earlier on in his UFC career, got a decision win, submitted Jeremiah Wells in a fight. I believe he was losing at one point. Then he got knocked out by Chaos Williams. Carlston's been knocked out a lot in his MMA career. He's tall, he's lengthy. Santiago Ponzinibbio is the same height, not as lengthy, but should be able to go out there, close the distance, and land the punches. He's the underdog here. The fight clearly comes down to, can Ponzinibbio keep this as a striking match? I guarantee you, if Ponzinibbio defends the takedown, he wins. If Carlston gets the takedowns, he will win. Ponzinibbio, let's check. When's the last time Ponzinibbio has been taken down? Mike Perry, back in 2017. So we're talking like 8 years ago, where Mike Perry had 29 seconds of control time. That's the only takedown of the fight and of his career in the last like 7, 8, 9 years. Is that one time. Other than that, nobody's able to take him down. Nobody's able to out-wrestle. Nobody's able to out-grapple him. I'll go way, way back. Andreas Stahl's the last guy to actually land takedowns on him. Landed 2. How long did he control him for? 16 seconds. 16 seconds, and Ponzinibbio was the only man to land ground and pound from bottom, which is crazy. Yeah, I feel good about this underdog pick. I don't know why Carlston is the favorite when Carlston is not the better striker here. Ponzinibbio is. Having close striking matches with the likes of Jeff Neal, Michel Pereira, and Muslim Salikov. He's having close striking battles with these guys. Carlston's not on that level. And Carlston's not going to take down and dominate Ponzinibbio on the ground like he would hope. That's got to be his hope here. It's not going to do it. So I'm going to go underdog. I don't know how big of an underdog he is, because on Tapology, it says he's just a slight underdog. But let's see what he's at now. It's a 50-50 fight. It's a 50-50. It's a pick 'em. In the UFC welterweight division, I'm going to go with Santiago Ponzinibbio. I think the odds will flip, and I think Ponzinibbio will be the clear favorite by fight night. Just my personal opinion. I got Ponzinibbio 30-27 unanimous decision. Dern versus Ribas 2, the rematch. They're both 31 years old, similar heights, a little bit of a reach advantage for Amanda Ribas. Amanda's got good takedown defense, good jiu-jitsu. Mackenzie Dern doesn't have good takedown defense, but she wants people to take her down, so obviously she's not going to have good takedown defense, but she does have good jiu-jitsu, good submission skills. Amanda Ribas, way better striker. Way better striker. I'll say it right now. We look throughout her career. She's got a few submission wins here and there and things like that. But she also has good striking performances. The last fight, let's look. Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas. She was able to defend a lot of those takedowns and outstrike her. Verna Jandiroba, able to defend those takedowns, keep it on the feet, and outstrike Verna Jandiroba. Luana Pinheiro. Luana's a striker, and she was able to knock out Luana Pinheiro, who is, her little profile picture on here is her striking. She's a striker, and she was able to go out there and beat her. So what I'm trying to say here is, only way Dern wins is if she gets it down. Ribas is so far superior when it comes to striking, kicking, Muay Thai, kickboxing, anything like that, that the only way Dern wins is if she gets it down and gets an Aljamain Sterling backpack and wins rounds that way, or submits Amanda Ribas. That's it. Do I think she's going to submit Amanda? No. No, I don't. When is the last time Ribas has been submitted? Never. She's never been submitted, not even once. Do I think she's going to control Ribas and dominate her on the ground for 5 rounds? Heck no. Heck no, I do not. She is the favorite on Tapology. Kind of crazy. I am going to go Ribas to win, though. I think she defends, keeps it on the feet, and outstrikes for the win. Amanda Ribas by a unanimous decision. That is the full card prediction. 14 fights. First UFC Fight Night of 2025. I got Mackenzie Dern by unanimous decision. I got Santiago Ponzinibbio as an underdog by unanimous decision. I got Abdul Razak Al Hassan as an underdog. Heavy underdog at that. By TKO in round number 2, round number 3. I got Roman Kopylov by a 29-28 decision. I got Austin Bashi by a unanimous decision. Punahele Soriano, unanimous decision. Jose Johnson, round 2, round 3. TKO or a decision win. I can totally see a finish there. Marco Tulio, round 2, round 3. Knockout. Thiago Moises by a decision. Andreas Gustafsson by a decision. Ernesta Kareckaite by a decision. Bruno Lopes as an underdog by a decision. Fatima Kline by a unanimous decision, very clear. And Nurullo Aliev by a decision. A lot of decision picks. Out of all of those decision picks, I do believe there's a high probability for a finish for Andreas Gustafsson. A good probability for Fatima Kline. Let's see. Again, Jose Johnson, I was kind of iffy on that one. Roman Kopylov could get a finish. It's possible. I just don't see it personally. Sorry, did I see Santiago by decision earlier? That's a mistake. If I said it was him by decision, I have him by knockout in round number 1, round number 2. So my mistake if I said decision earlier. That is the full card prediction for UFC Fight Night Dern versus Ribas 2. I have Santiago Ponzinibbio as my first underdog. Abdulrazak Al Hassan as my second underdog. Punahele Soriano as my third underdog. Bruno Lopes as my fourth underdog. So I got 4 underdogs on this UFC Fight Night, Dern versus Ribas 2. Comment your predictions down below. That is the full card prediction.